in today's time, from a task perspective, anybody in my team can replace me. But from a bigger picture perspective, that's where I come into picture.
Yeah.
From a direction perspective, that's where I come into picture. Whatever I say, people will echo those words. So my choice of words and the way I project myself in the organization becomes so crucial, because I need to be very careful of the fact that people are going to follow me. I personally believe that in today's time, organizations should move beyond gender discussions when it comes to diversity or inclusion. There is a possibility a time would come that the concept of HR may not exist. We have installed over 5,400 solar panels on top of our warehouse. And if I may give you a brief number, on an annual basis, it is over 1 million dirhams. Right?
Oh, yeah,
so that's pretty significant amount of money that we save.
Welcome to another insightful episode of the CHRO Exchange Podcast by Masters Union, where we engage and discuss with trailblazing HR leaders across the globe, leaders whose vision and expertise have actually shaped and will shape the future of a lot of organizations worldwide. Today we have with us a very, very distinguished guest, somebody who has over 2 decades of experience in various companies, driving various high-impact growth strategies. Welcome, Kunal Wadhwani.
Hello, how are you? Thank you so much for having me on board.
Thank you so much, Kunal. Great. Thank you so much for sparing your time. So, Kunal, of course, currently serves as the Chief Human Resource Officer for Choithrams, overseeing a diverse workforce of close to 5,000 people.
Yes.
Of course, with this, depth of experience, bringing a lot of scale into the organization, looking at a lot of growth. Advising senior leadership on HR strategies, being very, very distinguished and a thought leader in his field. So, of course, prior to the large stint at Choithrams, Kunal, you were with the Tata Consultancy Services, where you, of course, advised senior leadership on various HR strategies.
Right.
And, of course, at Epicenter Technologies, where you instilled a very strong HR process and made sure that compliances ran according to ISO and different audit frameworks. Thank you so much for spending your time again. I think I'll start with Choithrams as a company the way I see it.
Right.
85 plus locations across the GCC.
That's right.
Hundreds of brands distributed.
More than that, I'm sure.
Yeah, more than that, of course. And so just in a nutshell, how's your journey been in the last 14 years? Right from when you joined, early stages of when you joined to now, how it is, how the company shaped up,
right?
How you've contributed to it. Would love to know some of that.
Lovely. So thank you so much for having me on board, as I said. And Choithrams has been an interesting journey. I joined them in October 2010, and just a month back, I finished 14 years of my stint in Choithrams. It's been, quite enriching for me. Grown from a manager to a CHRO portfolio in the organization. Today, I'm a part of the executive committee team in the company. I play an important role from a strategic perspective towards the organization. I very genuinely believe HR has played an important role in transforming the organization. From the time when I came in, we were a very typical family-driven, promoter-driven organization. Today, after 14 years, we work as a corporate. I think it takes immense amount of strength for promoters to take a decision and bring in external people in the organization, where people like me become executive committee members, and then they sit back, enjoy the helicopter view themselves.
Interesting.
Right? And it requires a lot of trust to be instilled in people who come, especially from a non-family background, into the business. Today, as we speak, our CEO, other CXOs, other HODs, most of them are non-family members at today. And I think it showcases the strength and trust that comes from the wisdom that comes from legacy in the organization. To take that kind of step and to have absolute faith in what the people in the organization are doing. And we started with very base level HR interventions 14 years back. Today, you can name the sort of HR practices that are available in the market, and we follow, I would say, most of them, whether in a book way or better than the book. That's for us to see and for the world to see. more importantly for our employees to experience in a way. But I very genuinely believe we have come a long way as an organization trying to reform, restructure the culture of our organization, at the same point in time sticking to the founders' principles. Uh, but yeah, I think the social behaviors in the organization mean a lot to us. And whatever interventions we carry out in today's time, those are basically associated to taking care of our employees and, managing the whole respect proposition that we have for them.
No, very interesting. As we say, culture flows from the top, right? Giving that kind of authority to non-family members over a period of time shows that the culture of the organization is fantastic, very robust.
Yeah.
Managing around 5,000 people is no mean feat.
Right.
So, what are your basic, guiding principles or leadership principles that help you do this on a day-to-day basis?
Look, from a leadership standpoint, I believe that if you join an organization, if you last yourself thoroughly throughout your life, the organization should last beyond you. Or let's say, even if an employee has to join at a senior level in the organization, and if they have to leave the organization, they should leave a better company compared to when they had joined. Yeah. So that is the first basic leadership principle that I follow and work on very diligently. So I think now that I've spent over a decade in the organization, I can definitely say that we are in a much better shape as an organization, as a structure, as we have adapted to innovations in the organization. So I think we have come a very long way, and the difference is seen not just by me, because I'm here since last 14 years, but people say so in the organization.
Absolutely.
As well, right? Our market contacts, our suppliers, our principals very genuinely believe that we are a reformed organization at this particular point in time. So that's one thing. Second thing, I think in the organization, a training culture is very important, right? We need to coach our team members. There are organizations that I hear that, there are not many training opportunities. I think a one-day training is better than having no training at all. And I very clearly, enhance this proposition within Choithrams culture, where we have an integrated learning and development team, which works tirelessly to create training interventions for our employees, basis the feedback that we get either from our performance appraisal mechanisms or from the operational challenges that our HODs talk about.
Very interesting.
Right? So that is another proposition. The third thing that I can quickly think of is a concept of building a trust factor within the organization, right? Where an employee does not have to think twice before coming to, let's say, a human resources domain or to a senior authority in case they face any challenges. And most importantly, if that challenge is associated to their own supervisor, right? When you're managing over 5,000 employees, it's not easy. Let me put it that way. Compared to in a 50 or 100 headcount organization, there is immense amount of personalization where the top person would know even the family members. But in the 5,000 headcount organization, at times that could be a bit difficult.
Right.
But in those difficult situations, do our employees genuinely believe that they can reach out for assistance, for help, or even if they have a great suggestion, right? Somebody would listen to them.
Right.
So I think having that kind of openness is very important. Finally, from a leadership standpoint, I think, where we stand as leaders today, we are made to feel like we are superheroes, even if we are not, right? So the way I project myself in the organization, people may mimic my body language.
Right.
Whatever I say, people will echo those words. So my choice of words and the way I project myself in the organization becomes so crucial, because I need to be very careful of the fact that people are going to follow me, right? So I think as a leader, you have to conduct yourself in the most appropriate way in the organization, and that speaks volumes when people respect you as well in return.
Very nice. Very nice to hear. I think just a general observation. I've worked with few large companies myself. I've seen somewhere down the line, I think there's a misalignment between HR goals and business goals, right? and
it's true.
And it's true. That's what I was saying.
True.
It's not a myth. It's not a myth.
Yeah.
Because and I'm sure your workforce is very diverse. It's a company that's forever growing, right? How do you ensure that proper alignment between HR goals and business goals as a leader?
So the most important element when you have to align with business goals is to understand business first.
Absolutely.
As an HR person, if you just sit down in your office and you focus on HR interventions as a part of your budget activities,
Fair.
I don't see how that is going to help an organization or its people or enhance the ROI proposition for that matter from a P&L perspective.
Yeah.
So when we talk about business, it's so important that we are grounded and we understand what happens on the shop floor of our business. Some people come from ITS organizations, some people come from banking, some people come from retail and distribution like me. We all come from different genres. When I look at my experience, I started my journey with the aviation industry, which was World Network Services, now which is popularly known as WNS Global Services. So ITES, BPO, moving on to BFSI, and then coming into retail.
Wow. Yeah.
It's every experience is different when you move from one industry to another.
Absolutely.
If I just focus on doing HR interventions or hiring without understanding what is the base of my organization, what my people do, what are their challenges, how would I recruit people, how would I train them, how would I create any intervention or a project inside the organization which is associated to the ROI proposition. So sometimes it's important that a person like me knows beyond the information that you just spoke, that we have 85 supermarkets.
Exactly.
I need to understand how are those 85 supermarkets segregated.
True.
What are the procurement standards followed?
True.
Who are our customers in those 85? Wow. And then you focus on hiring people for those kind of supermarkets.
Exactly.
Then you focus on the procurement strategies. Then you focus on what sells, what does not sell. And then you create all the policies and practices associated to catering to that employee base who's going to take care of your external customers. So if your end thought process is whatever I do as an HR person inside the organization, if you just ask yourself one question, how does each and every activity provide an ROI quotient to the business? I think then HR starts making sense for business.
Yeah, absolutely.
The misalignment primarily happens because business very genuinely believes that our HR itself does not understand what we do.
Yeah.
And I think that is the biggest problem. So I think, when people say that there are a handful number of CEOs who have grown to become a CEO from being an HR person, well, HR is responsible for that because just by asking, the seat at the table, will not come to you. It takes time, effort. It's like, nurturing a plant. If you don't water or don't provide enough sunlight on a timely basis, it doesn't happen, right? So I think the timing is very important. If you have lost the turnaround time of understanding business, it is going to take a lot of time. And I think I always tell this to my team as well. Once, the perception is an amazing thing, right? Till people have not decided any element about you, you are in control. But once they have perceived things about you, it becomes very difficult to change that whole perspective, right? So I think the alignment between business and human resources is such. If I have joined the organization today, if I don't put my first 6 months to 1 year in understanding the business, the P&L proposition, how we have performed, what does the next year look like for us, how am I in a position to implement any HR policy? Because let's say your organization has this wonderful policy associated to, let's say, any of the activity. It could be extra number of leaves, it could be extra number of incentives or whatsoever. I am not in a position to just take that and replicate in my organization. It should make sense for my organization, right? So if it does not make a business sense for my organization, it is not going to make a people sense for my organization also, for that matter.
Yeah, I think wonderfully summed up. The way I see it, as an HR leader, you have to don the hat of a CEO, don the hat of a CFO, a CMO, Chief Strategy Officer, Chief Technical Officer, and then combine with your own, with the alignment with HR. So I think it's a holistic sort of
The interesting part is once you wear all these hats, you have to still make all those people very comfortable at the same time. So
That's the tough part. That's the tough part. Back and forth. Fair. Very nice. Awesome. I think what I've read is very, very good emphasis on environment, sustainability, governance at Choithrams.
Yes.
How do you ensure that is an integral part of your HR or organizational development strategy?
All right. So you should look at it from a cause and effect perspective.
Sure.
I think it all starts with the purpose. Why do you want to incorporate sustainability as a value proposition in your organization, right? So I think once you have defined that particular aspect, the next set of thought process is associated to the culture. Within the culture, what are you trying to do? How do you engage your people in the organization? So to give you an example, in Choithrams, we have this concept of green ambassadors. We don't have a massive sustainability team, all right? there is one person who manages it. And when I tell this to people, they are like, oh, you talk about sustainability and just one person. What we have done is every department has nominated a couple of green ambassadors. And these green ambassadors work with the sustainability manager. So instead of having 3 or 4 or 5 people who are dedicated to sustainability team, we have elements coming in from different departments working on sustainability goals. And these people also have their KPIs. Eventually, the HOD also has the KPIs. So we have proper weightages defined for sustainability KPIs and all those perspectives inside our appraisal mechanism itself now.
Could you give couple of examples of sustainability initiatives that you've been undertaking recently?
Okay, so one example that I would give, which created a massive leadership opportunity for us in the organization, is associated to our solar rooftop panel project. Right, so we have a warehouse, one of our warehouses, which is one of the biggest warehouses in UAE. It's 850,000 square feet, based out of Al Quoz. And we have installed over 5,400 solar panels on top of our warehouse. And the amount of electricity consumption that gets saved because of that is humongous. You're also talking about savings in our electricity cost associated to our supply chain and logistics domain over there. And if I may give you a brief number, on an annual basis, it is over 1 million dirhams. Right? So that's pretty significant amount of money that we save. Now imagine when through your initiatives, if you're able to save this kind of money, you can use these elements in marketing and A&Ps and all those perspectives in the organization, which will support business.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely.
Very nice.
Right?
Yeah,
so those are the perspectives. Once you have defined the culture, the next is how do you embed it into the strategy? So for Choithrams, we have taken a step ahead and we have adopted to UN Sustainability Development Goals. So as you know, there are 17 SDGs, out of which we are currently catering on 12 SDGs at the moment. When you look at this particular element, okay, the immediate effect, functional effect is associated to the leadership capabilities. I give you one example of solar rooftop project.
Solar rooftop,
the second is the people engagement in the organization, because it is the people in the organization who come up, who work on these kind of initiatives which are supported by the grassroots level people. You're talking about employee engagement programs in the organization, whether it is a sport tournament or, we run a goodness campaign for a period of 3 months. You have sport tournaments, but one unique thing that we do in goodness campaign is we have operational level championships. So it happens on the live shop floor in our supermarkets.
Interesting.
Where we have the best stocker, best merchandiser, best baker, best butcher competition that happens on the floor. Right, so people from different supermarkets get nominated. We come to one supermarket, which may be a bigger store, let's say, and these things happen live in front of our customers during the winters. So when you do these kind of alignments, there is a further operational impact. Okay, where our customers are educated on perspectives like these. We have signages and labels across our supermarkets where we talk about saving energy, reducing plastic waste, reducing food wastage, for that matter, and subsequently, you're able to create a social footprint for your employees to understand this and talk to your consumers.
Fair.
And accordingly, you create an environmental footprint. So that is a concept of ESG that we have developed in our organization.
Interesting. I'll come to, I was going to ask the question about people engagement, which you answered beautifully. So now I'm going to come to, HR processes and technology. I'm sure you spearheaded digitization, very large scale digitization in the organizations that you've been a part of. How have these experiences actually shaped your approach at Choithrams?
Okay, so I would put it across this way. As I have grown, the technology has grown in the organization.
Yeah.
So I've seen a massive transition within the company when it comes to adapting technology, innovation, and still an ongoing thing. Today, there are many tools in the market that create certain kind of conveniences. However, there are some security aspects also that needs to be taken into consideration. I think where we stand today, we have come a long way in terms of adapting technology, whether it is associated to our retail stores or distribution channels or supply chain or even HR for that matter. I think we love experimenting as an organization. So there are tools that you will buy from the organization because it's easy to buy it and install. And sometimes we work with our internal IT team to build products as well. So we have this knack of working on developing wireframes, process flows within the organization, and sometimes just to create a learning opportunity for our young team members, we tell them, all right, here's an IT guy who's help you in coding, maybe let's say .NET, And if you have a program that you wish to build, go ahead, make it a project and go ahead and build it. And you'll be surprised to know that within the HRMS portal itself, the overall ESS and MSS has been built in-house in Choithrams, right? And that is purely associated to our requirements. Okay, if I would have had gone out and given those kind of requirements to any normal HRMS suite partner, I would have had spent close to $1 million over there in building that particular portfolio.
Everything built in-house.
Not everything. We do work with an external partner.
Yeah, of course.
Right? But the employee self-services, manager self-services, that has been built in-house.
Well, as far as I know, it's always been outsourced. I mean, people usually outsource this, right?
Absolutely. So I think it has created a good learning opportunity for our team members, and they find that flexibility that, all right, if we have a thought process or a suggestion from a process implementation perspective, well, whether it works or does not work immediately, but we have a source where we can go and talk about this and create a project out of it.
Interesting. I think I have a question on diversity and inclusion in the workforce.
Yes.
Very large organization. How diverse is the workforce? How many nationalities? Sort of thing. Or
well, I mean, we have around, if I'm not wrong, around 16 nationalities at the moment.
Interesting.
Right? And it's a pretty diverse workforce. Good ratio, a mix of men and women working together over there. Obviously, more men in our set of organization. Reason being, we work across 24 hours. And there are certain rules which do not allow us to hire women at night in the night operations. All those perspectives. Plus, we have a massive supply chain unit as well. So over there, women don't prefer to work.
Of course.
As well in the back end.
Fair enough.
So there are many perspectives to it. But I think we have come a very long way. When we look at our ratios today of the gender diversity versus when I joined the organization. So we have done pretty well over there. Even from a nationality mix perspective, I think we are doing well over there. I personally believe that in today's time, organizations should move beyond gender discussions when it comes to diversity or inclusion. I think it's important that we start focusing on generations. We are at a stage where almost 4 generations are working together. The 5th one is just about to enter the market. And it's a tough job. It's a tough job for a Gen X person like me to sit in midst of baby boomers who still want to follow legacy protocols. And there are the millennials and the Gen Zs who already think differently.
Right?
The millennials would be tech dependent. Okay. And the Gen Zs, how do I put it across? They are tech natives for that matter, right? So there is a lot of, resistance to sometimes listening to what comes from legacy and vice versa over there. And I think Gen X has to build that gap where we make the younger generation, the younger workforce in the organization understand that there is a lot of wisdom that comes from the entrepreneurial ability of the legacy. And at the same point in time, we just make the legacy understand that, look, there is a lot of change happening down there. As much as we want people to behave like you would want, but that's not really possible. And create that amalgamation over there. So there is not going to be a stage where both the parties agree to whatever both the parties have to say to each other. But I think it's important we come and bridge a gap, because it's like building a policy in the organization. You don't build a policy because you think everybody is going to accept that policy. Some people may not accept the policy, but you still have to adhere to it, right? So I think what is more important for both the generations to understand is that we have to adhere to certain middle grounds. And I think if people like me in the organization are able to create that channel, that bridge appropriately, that's where the next 5 to 10 years are going to be satisfying for any employee working in the organization.
Very interesting. So generations, not genders, is
generation. So we should focus on generational inclusivity more.
Absolutely. No, I had a very, very unique perspective.
Yeah.
Very nice. I think that line will probably stay with me. Very, 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 very relevant. Very relevant. I totally agree. I just on your personal journey, spent close to 14 years, of course, here at Choithrams. Before that at TCS.
Yes.
What prompted you, to move from TCS to a retail organization? And I think was that the move from India to the UAE as well, right?
Well, not really. So I hear this a lot from people, especially coming in from India, that I want to go for international experience. I'm like, I think every market is very unique.
Yeah.
I have grown in this region. So
of course.
There is no doubt that I have got huge amount of respect for the region, for the perspectives or the thought processes that this region has for the development
Very
of
nice.
the whole business segment. But I think I enjoyed my tenure in India before coming to Dubai. TCS was an amazing organization where I learned, core HR, if I may say so, right? And my business amalgamation started over there in that organization. Before that, I was comparatively at a junior role, so it is safe to say that my roles were a bit more transactional at an early stage of my career. But I think TCS offered me that business amalgamation. My relationship with the senior members of TCS, even today, for that matters, are very strong. We have bonded really well, and we are still very much connected.
Interesting.
When I look at the transition part of it, I think both are very different organizations, TCS and Choithrams. The amount of shop floor alignment that I have experienced in Choithrams is way too different compared to managing the genres of business and the people back in TCS. So I think the way I have worked over here, like I said, I went back to being a transactional source in the company to understand the ground realities over here. And now that we have come a very long way, I think we have transformed beautifully as an organization from our interventions that we have carried out, which are, if I may say so, way different compared to the interventions that I incorporated in TCS. So again, it's just a matter of perspectives, I guess. But India to UAE, the work backend and the mental thought process does not change if you change a country. You have to do things that you have to do in the organization.
Absolutely.
But yes, when you go to an international site, okay, or whether you're working in India, you have to understand the local flavor of business over there, the local flavor of people, the social platforms that they come from. Within the Middle East, when you're working in UAE, it is way too different compared to working in Bahrain, Oman, Qatar, Kuwait, or Saudi Arabia, for that matter, right? People are different. They have their local flavors over there. And once you understand that particular segment, the amount of respect that you get just because you took that little initiative of understanding that local flavor. It's similar to working, let's say, in India, whether you're working in Maharashtra versus Bangalore. If you treat a Bangalorean like you're working in Maharashtra, it would not work for you.
Totally.
So I think it's all about
not
building,
a one size fits all sort of approach. Right?
Exactly. So you have to build a local flavor, connect with people over there, and then things shape up quickly because it's all about creating an amalgamation wherever you're working.
True. Nice. Kunal, as somebody who has risen through the ranks and now leading HR at a global organization, what's your personal advice from the heart to aspiring HR leaders across the globe?
Look, I genuinely believe, in the concept of trying, experimenting, and I tell my team as well that if it's stupid and it works, it's not stupid.
Yeah.
Right. So my personal advice is, we have spoken about, the understanding the business agenda. There is a possibility a time would come that the concept of HR may not exist. It may be called something else, whatever you want to call it. But I think the whole transformational perspective of HR is very important to an organization in today's time. Right? How well we are able to align, how much closely we associate ourselves to business, the team, the people in the organization is going to be very important. If I may just share one example of one KPI that I'm incorporating for myself now is I have been in a situation where I have worked very closely with the floor, the shop floor. Then a time came, the team size grew, my agendas changed and I was coaching them. A time today has come where I have got a good team and they manage the show.
Yeah.
In today's time, from a task perspective, anybody in my team can replace me. But from a bigger picture perspective, that's where I come into picture.
Yeah.
From a direction perspective, that's where I come into picture. And today, I'm setting certain standards in the team where they are supposed to work on relationship management at a mid-senior level in the organization. That includes the CEO of the company. And that will give me the opportunity to go back on the shop floor in 2025.
That's very nice.
And it would be interesting to see that after a couple of years, when I go back on the shop floor, first intent is that I don't want our employees to see me only on presentation slides, right? As the CHRO of the organization.
And to see you interact with you.
I want them to meet me. I want them to understand that I exist for them, more importantly. And I can do all of those things because I'm absolutely assured of my team. Because I've invested that kind of time. So please invest time in your team members' growth. The more you share, the more they will grow, the more flexibilities you will get as an HR leader. in the organization to focus. And this is what the business wants from you. This is what the business want: a grounded HR leader in the organizations who is close to people. If people have any challenge in the organization, they can come to you, they can talk to you. You can take that to the drawing board, to your team, and put all those challenges that people face on the whiteboard and ask them, tell me, how do we solve it? Right? Because if we keep all the information at our end, we don't necessarily share, we don't coach our team members, we'll be fighting alone in the company. And then it is all about doing things to save your job. I don't think this is how HR should work, religiously speaking, right? So I think when we speak about amalgamating business, this is what I'm talking about. It's not just key text to talk about it and then forget, right? So I think that's my personal philosophy. So like I said, if it is stupid and it works, take that idea, make hay out of it, see what are the potential opportunities that idea can create, and give that confidence to your team that even if you think, okay, it does not sound right or good, at least put it on table. Because once you have put it on table, the group, the consensus will define and decide whether it is going to make sense or not make sense.
Very interesting. One quick question around talent acquisition. So if you were to handpick a few folks, what sort of values would you look for in them? Let's say 3 to 4 values. And do you hire MBA students, MBA graduates?
Look, yes, we do hire MBA graduates. To answer your question, the quantum differs from industry to industry, and from the structure to structure. Let's say if the structure is very hierarchical in organization, you may find that this kind of an organization hires more MBA graduates year on year from campuses. When the structure is lean, like Choithrams, okay, we may not have the capacity to hire people year on year. But the opportunity, when we have one, we go to the campus and we say, hey, we need a couple of people, right? And I think we spend a lot of time in creating a coaching platform for campuses through internship. We have a beautiful program called CLIP. It's the full form is Choithrams Learning Internship Program. The interesting part that comes behind the story of creating this name called CLIP is that we interviewed maybe 50 to 100 students from campuses in Dubai, and we asked them what are their challenges in internship. This was in 2016 when we were building a program for ourselves, right? We didn't want students to come in and do some sort of filing work and or rather be in one corner updating data in a laptop and then go back and say that we did not learn anything. End of the day, all these are branding opportunities. We want people to speak high about Choithrams in whatever we do, whether it is our customers or whether they are interns in the organizations beyond our employees. And whatever feedback we got, I think a couple of elements stated that we don't like to work on data-centric activities. We want more meaningful jobs. And we are asked to build presentations. And then the managers take those presentations, go to the room without even calling us, right?
So the age-old problem.
So we took all these elements and we created a program called CLIP, Choithrams Learning Internship Program, where we ask our business to provide us a 2 months project, right? The projects, once they are approved between HR and business head, we provide interns, whether it is 1 intern or 2 interns that department may need. There is an industry mentor assigned, and this industry mentor is not the junior most level person in the team. It is either a senior manager or above, okay, that comes in. The interns will work very closely with this person. And after the internship gets over, they are supposed to create a presentation and deliver that presentation in front of the CEO and all the other ExCom members. Right?
Interesting.
Where we find the best presenter, what kind of meaning did you provide?
Sure.
Such amazing ideas have cropped out of the CLIP, Abhishek. I can't even tell you. Fantastic. There are so many ideas that come year on year. It's for the organization to see what we can pick, what we can't. But the ideas are amazing, right? Some people are way ahead of times in their thought process. Any organization that get these kind of interns, you may just think that, oh, maybe I can do this 5 years down the line. But at least you have that idea on a diary written somewhere, right? And it gives you a flexibility to think beyond a 3-year or a 5-year plan and then get into those kind of assessments. So it's interesting. So I think it's important that you hire people from campuses. Beyond that, I think when we look at a hiring standpoint, I would want to see who's more motivated to join my organization and why. Beyond being an MBA, right? I think that's an important proposition At least when I
absolutely.
speak on behalf of Choithrams. So
Totally.
you have to sometimes move beyond certificate, create a basic benchmark for yourself in terms of certificates. But there's this thought process that we don't hire for certificates, we hire for skills. I'm saying beyond certificates and skills, now the time will come where people need to hire for why you are so motivated to join our organization.
Hire for motivation.
Absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you. One. Before we wrap this up, one final question. Outside of having a stellar career, outside of handling this massive workforce, such a large organization, such a well-known organization, a legacy organization, who is Kunal Wadhwani as a person, and what do you do outside of work, and how's life? How do you unwind, basically?
Well, starting with my family, my wife works with a school over here, an IB school over here, DIA. She's the head of inclusion over there. I have a 13-year-old daughter. We are an outdoor family. I guess we spend a lot of time on personal fitness and perspectives associated to sports and adventure sports maybe.
Very nice.
I think we are all very passionate people. We tend to spend a lot of time with each other. I mean, if my wife hears this right now, she's going to give me a pasting because I travel a lot, whether it is work or conferences.
She's going to hear this eventually.
She's going to hear this eventually. So maybe a little bit of difference of opinion over there.
Sure.
But beyond that, beyond my work, beyond my travel associated to work, I think I'm more grounded. I think I love spending time doing personal fitness activities, sports. That's like my daily routine, and I think I invest a lot of time in it because what we do in organizations, whether it is me or you or anybody who's listening to us right now, it's tiring at times, and it's not about whether you do physical work or you're sitting in an AC office. Sometimes when you're focusing on sorting out challenges for your organization, it can tire you out.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
I think you need to focus a lot in today's time in terms of your diet, your fitness, and that gives you a perspective thoroughly. So I think it's important to unwind. Beyond this, I love watching movies. That's like my weekly thing. And as kiddish as it sounds, me and my 13-year-old daughter are big fans of WWE.
Oh, wow.
And very recently we traveled to Saudi Arabia to watch a show as well. And if somebody wants to judge me on that, please feel free to. No problem whatsoever.
Interesting. I was a huge WWE fan back in the day.
Exactly.
But yeah, I get it. Totally get it. Why not?
Right.
Fantastic.
Right.
Thank you so much, Kunal, for sharing such great insights, having such a nice, warm, free-flowing conversation. So that brings us to the end of yet another insightful episode of CHRO Exchange Podcast at Masters Union. Thank you again, Kunal.
Thank you so much.
Indeed a pleasure hosting you.
Same here. It was a pleasure. Thank you for this honor, for having me on board, and I look forward to our continuous association.
Great. Thank you.